All right. Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Julian Marivel. I'm a professor of communication at the University of Arkansas Little Rock, and I'm also the founder of the Positive Communication Network with my colleagues. I'm so thrilled to welcome you to our special workshop on savoring the moment. And I couldn't help at least give you a quick story because I have a teenager. He's 17 years old, and I know that in about a year he's going to go to college, and he's been really loving pool. So that's something that we share in common. And I had this little moment this summer. I think Maggie would be proud of me, where we went and shot pool and had lunch together. And I just found myself kind of like escaping the moment and looking at it from the outside a little bit, just like really savoring it. Like, this is it. It's me and my teenager connecting. We're chatting, we're talking, we're joking. And we really hope that today's workshop can help you think about your everyday life in that way. In the book Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman wrote, "There are no ordinary moments." Mm. And I think it's really true that if you can think about communication in that way, that in fact, every moment is extraordinary, you can begin to savor your life, increase your well-being, your sense of happiness. And today we've got Dr. Maggie Pitts to lead us towards that kind of appreciation. I want to tell you a little bit about, the Positive Communication Network. In 2022, a group of scholars from around the United States came together to found this network. Our mission is pretty simple. It's to foster a community dedicated to creating better social worlds for all through positive communication research, through positive communication education, and through positive communication practice. When I get done with the introduction, I'll put the link in there so you can maybe join our community. And part of what we have done is, in the last 3 years now, is we are offering free virtual events, including an annual conference. We do book parties. Tom will tell you a little bit more later on about our next upcoming event. And we have started to do some free workshops like this one. And you can see they're pretty popular. We had 161 people join us, and our community has moved from literally just 7 of us to more than 2,000 people who regularly attend our events. So we're really thrilled that this is kind of taking off. Obviously, this is a team accomplishment, lots of us. So these are the co-founders of the Positive Communication Network: Kristen Chrisman, Ryan Fuller, Philip Glenn, Dr. Maggie Pitts, who is with us today, and our featured speaker. You're going to get to know her a little bit more. Dr. Tom Soha, one of the leaders of the positive communication movement in the field, and Dr. Amy Young from the University of Michigan. So without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about who you're going to meet today. Today, we have the honor of introducing Dr. Maggie Pitts for her special workshop that is based upon her research on savoring communication. And I think you're in for a special treat. Dr. Maggie Pitts is Associate Professor of Communication at the University of Arizona in Tucson. She earned her PhD in Communication Arts and Sciences from Penn State. She was a faculty at UC Santa Barbara for a year, and colleagues with Tom Soha at Old Dominion University for several years before she moved on to Tucson. She's a co-founder of the Positive Communication Network and author of several scholarly books and many articles on positive communication practices. She's one of the co-editor of 2 volumes with Tom on positive communication, both of which really launched this discipline that we could call positive communication scholarship. She is past president and fellow of the International Association of Language and Social Psychology and a woman of impact at the University of Arizona. But more importantly, she's a good friend, an awesome researcher, an amazing teacher. And I think you're just going to love what her research is all about. And along the way, she's going to teach us how to savor all of these little moments that we have with us. So join me in celebrating Dr. Maggie Pitts, and she's going to lead us through a wonderful workshop starting now. Maggie, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Julian. This is already a moment that I have been anticipating, savoring, and just really feel a close connection with you and all of the people who are here joining us today with the Positive Comm Network. I am going to also share my slides so that we can get started. Julian, can you give me a thumbs up if you see my slides? Excellent, thank you. So as Julian said, I'm Maggie Pitts. It really is my honor to be part of this group and be recognized for the work that we're all doing in positive communication. So I wish everyone a very warm welcome and thank you, an extension of gratitude for being present and here with all of us today. So let's actually begin with our breath. I hope to create a space for all of us to really be present in this moment and tap into opportunities to savor. But to be able to do that, we have to slow things down a little bit. So let's take a nice deep breath and exhale slowly. And you can do it again. I really encourage breathing throughout this whole hour that we'll be together. It's good. And I will too. When we begin deep, intentional breathing, we connect our mind with our body. We become more present in the space that we're in, and we can reduce some of the stress or tension that our mind or our body might be holding in coming into this Zoom room today. We have people from all over the globe, different time zones everywhere, people who might be sending kids to school or putting kids to bed or in the middle of their day, their lunch hour, and popping in to join us now. So wherever you are in your space, take a moment to check in with the environment that is surrounding you now and take those deep breaths to bring your mind and body to this moment. Savoring is the act of noticing something joyful, pleasurable, maybe meaningful, and then focusing on that feeling in order to enhance or prolong it. And savoring requires present moment awareness. We can't be too mentally overloaded. We cannot be too stressed or overwhelmed with negative or distressing emotions. In order to savor, we have to bring our awareness to the present moment and then look for things or search with our mind for things to enjoy and to deepen. So you might practice now by noticing something in your immediate surrounding to deepen your present moment awareness. I chose to stand up today. It's actually a goal I made for myself. For every Zoom meeting, I try to stand up. But as I do that, I can feel myself grounded into this beautiful wooden floor at the University of Arizona in the office where I stand. I know that there's palm trees. The sunlight is filtering in through those palm trees that I can experience here on my right side. So feel something, look at something, or close your eyes and sense into the sounds to bring that present awareness, the sensations around you into your mind. We can savor pleasurable sensations, experiences of delight or pleasure or joy. We can savor wonder and awe, and we can savor experiences of the bittersweet. We can savor and find meaning in difficult conversations, in grief and loss, because the meaning that is there is important to us to attend fully with our body and our mind. So savoring is powerful, and I want to give you some insight into how you can do it too. For example, I've been drinking this cup of tea this morning. Savoring allows me to turn this cup of Earl Grey tea into a micro experience that I can savor by feeling, for example, the super smooth porcelain. I can feel the flowers that are on the outside of the cup, and so I can increase my sensory awareness. The warmth emanating from within, the rich amber color, the aroma, sort of an earthy smell with hints of bergamot, and I haven't even had a sip in this moment, but I know how much joy is there for me. This experience can also connect me not just to this moment so I can take more pleasure in my morning cup of tea that might take me an extra 15 seconds to develop a joyful moment, but it also connects me to other points in time. Sharing high tea in Hong Kong with friends at a conference, or the dear friend who brought me back this cup from Japan. It connects me to relationships. Earl Grey is my older son's favorite cup of tea. So when I drink Earl Grey, I bring him to mind and create a pleasurable experience around that. So continue to sense around you for something that you might turn into a micro experience to find joy in this moment. We can experience a range of things. We have so many interactions with people around us daily. What if we turned our attention from savoring something as delicious as a warm cup of tea, or decadent chocolate cake, into savoring the moments that we have with others around you? And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. It's a particular kind of savoring, of identifying something delightful or joyful and then capitalizing on that experience. And you can do this to find joy and meaning in your everyday moments with others around you, as well as those extraordinary moments that mark turning points or moments of significance in our life. And I will guide you through some techniques that you can use not only to identify these moments, but how to really hone those savoring skills and optimize them so that you can call into them at other points in time. I have developed a workbook that you can use to follow along. I know Julian was kind enough to send that out to everybody. I dropped it in the chat, but if you've joined later, we might need to drop it in there. But you're welcome to follow along in the workbook for today as we work together to achieve 3 goals. I would like for you to gain awareness of 7 types of communication moments that people find savorable. People love to savor these 7 communication experiences, but you might be really good at savoring just 1 or 2 of them. So let me bring your awareness to all of the others that are there. Then we'll practice ways to enjoy and remember those moments and start your own savoring habit. This workshop will expand your awareness and capacity to savor the most ordinary moments and the extraordinary ones too. And as a result, it's going to improve your well-being and your relationships, because finding delight and joy and positive emotions in the everyday helps us to create better health outcomes, better relational outcomes, and really just feel a little happier. So here's an interesting thing. Oh, let me see what I have on my next slide. Oh, okay, we're nearly there. Savoring is a coping response. We tend to think of coping as something that we do when something goes poorly or it's going bad. Wow, I have to cope with this. But actually, a coping response is what our body and our minds do when we have emotions that we want to deal with. So sometimes we have emotions that we want to reduce or downregulate. This is overwhelming. I don't like that feeling. I want to cope with it and downregulate those negative emotions. But sometimes, and I hope a lot of times, we have emotions that we want to boost or upregulate. And this is where savoring comes in. We use savoring to amplify joy and meaning in everyday encounters. And communication savoring is a special type of savoring that encourages meaningful connection. We use communication savoring to upregulate or boost those meaningful moments and positive feelings in connection with others. Thinking about shooting pool with your teenage son and imagining how that creates a relationship both now and in the future is one way that we can tap into savoring. It's about slowing down and seeing meaning in the big and small moments and learning to appreciate even the smallest encounters of communication, such as a greeting to somebody in an elevator or passing on the road, or who delivers your morning coffee. Communication savoring is a practice that everyone can do, and that's why you're here. It involves identifying and paying attention to ordinary and extraordinary communication encounters, recognizing what is beautiful or meaningful in them, and then using intentional strategies to capture those moments and really relish them. Okay, so communication moments to savor are all around us, but how do we spot them? You might already be thinking of communication moments that you have savored. If you are in my generation, you might remember staying up all night long on a phone with a wire, talking to your best friend in 8th grade, for example. It didn't really matter what you were talking about for hours on end. In fact, I'm sure it wasn't always deeply meaningful conversation. But the time kind of recedes in the background, and what you feel is that relational connection around you. So, something as habitual as a conversation with your best friend on the phone might be something that you savor. In my very first studies on communication savoring, I asked people to describe moments of communication and relationships that they have savored and to tell me what that experience felt like. What were the emotions and how did their body experience savoring? In other words, how did they know? One of the reasons that they knew they did it was because it gave sort of a fluttery feeling or a rush of positive emotion to recall those experiences. And in doing so, they became very vivid and something that they could re experience even in a future moment. Now, after several studies, I have identified 7 communication experiences that people frequently savor. Now, when I do my research, I ask people what it is that they savor, and they tell me. So it took quite a while to put these into categories that I thought captured the types of experience that most people can savor. And by introducing these to you, I hope to raise your awareness of the different types of communication experiences that people savor so that you can spot them too. By focusing your attention on these 7 experiences, you can develop a beneficial savoring habit and even start savoring an experience before it happens. So, if you've been looking at my slide while I've been talking, and I know the words are little, I'm going to expand all these here in a moment. You might be thinking, oh, I know an example of extraordinary communication. And maybe by tapping into one of these moments, you already feel the positive benefits of communication savoring. So let me talk about each of these types of savoring one at a time. And you can follow along in your workbook. So I've identified each of the savoring types and a little bit of a description of what they are. The first one is aesthetic communication. Aesthetic communication is when we appreciate the beauty or the playfulness, the loveliness of the sounds of language or particular words being strung together. I love the word glimmer. I think glimmer is a beautiful word. So I can savor how that sounds, how I say it, what it evokes for me. Poetry, I've given this example many times, but when my oldest son was young, he couldn't say the millennium, yeah, Falcon. Let's say the Millennial Falcon. He couldn't say the Millennium Falcon, which is important in my family. So what he said instead was the Lemony Falcon. And so in my family, we started calling the Millennium Falcon the Lemony Falcon. And I loved the sound of those words, the playful sounds of children's language and how they string things together in new and novel ways. Maybe you can think of a phrase or a time that you were moved by a speech, a toast, poetry, or the sound of somebody giggling. The second one is called communication presence. And this is like the example of talking to somebody when you're in 8th grade all night on the phone. Now it might be through various mediated channels, but communication presence allows us to focus on the connection that is happening through communication in a moment, that it is a hyper awareness of that relating that's happening through talk, and everything else falls to the side. It doesn't matter that there's other people there. It doesn't matter how much time is going on. You're just in that zone with another person or people and really focused on being co-present with others. The third type is what we call nonverbal communication, or maybe environmental communication. Nonverbal communication, I can give you an example of what one of our participants said was, holding onto their father's hand as he was transitioning toward death. That at that time, verbal communication on the part of the father was not possible, but still that touch and that holding and lingering in that moment gave them a very close connection, or the participant a very close connection to their father as they transitioned into death. And this is a moment to savor for her in thinking about the touch of a hand, in thinking about smile and eye gaze, or as in this picture, how do we set up an environment that conveys the type of relationship that we want to, the type of communication that we want to relish in and engage. I like to set up tables like this for Thanksgiving. I think if I make a beautiful Thanksgiving table, it will elevate everybody's presence in that moment. And can I call forth an appreciation for beauty and nonverbal communication and create opportunities for people to savor more than just the turkey at the Thanksgiving table? Wouldn't it be fun if you could come to my house for Thanksgiving? I wish you all could. The fifth one is recognition and acknowledgement. And I really think about this as magnifying self-worth. It might be magnifying your own self-worth. This is important. But we have the power in communication to magnify others' self-worth. How can we elevate others around us? One way that we do that is through recognition and acknowledgement. And what what I found in my research is that people savor moments both of giving praise or giving recognition as well as receiving it. It depends a little bit on where you are in your lifespan. Younger people tended to really enjoy receiving praise, where older people enjoyed more giving praise and recognition. But this is being able to savor a moment where through language and talk, in celebrating another, we magnify their self-worth. This is so critical in today's society where people feel a little bit of disconnect. All of these strategies can also help feel more connected with others. The fifth type of communication savoring, is relational communication. This might be one you thought of right away. So it's not just the I love you moments, but relational communication is actually that which moves relationships oftentimes closer together, but it may also create, it's sharing information with one another that may create new and deeper meaning in that relationship. It might even be moving a relationship toward closure as people are authentically communicating. And so it helps to increase the certainty of where we are in our relationships, most often in joyful ways, but also in ways that allow people to move where they need to move relationally. Okay, so you're staying with me. This is the long part of today's conversation. But this is our sixth savoring type. It's extraordinary communication. This is really where we can identify and amplify awe in our everyday communication moments. And that includes the ordinary ones. We live very close to my parents. My kids can walk over to their grandparents' house within a couple minutes. We're on the same ranching property. And those are everyday moments that both my parents and my children talk about, like, you know what, I really savored that. I really enjoyed that. And it happens frequently. But with that expected behavior, they enjoy it, they savor it because they know it is always there for them. And the extraordinary moments, too. We think about life transitions, for example, that people are present for. The last one is hard to describe, but easy to experience. And this one is called implicitly shared communication. And this actually happens without communicating at all. If you have ever had the experience, this happens to me. If I see a really moving film, or I just saw one of Paul Simon's last concerts. We flew up to Seattle so I could see Paul Simon play in one of his last concerts ever. I did not want to talk about it with anybody. I wanted to be present with everybody and yet not ruin it with words. And so I felt this deep connection, this moment of communication, savoring as everybody was sort of buzzing on the same experience of pleasure and joy and gratitude for hearing Paul Simon and his words, the singer, I should say, and holding that in and not talking about it until a couple days later, where I could maybe articulate with words better my experience. Okay, so hopefully with this overview, I won't say it's brief, I know it took a little long, but now I hope to have inspired you to think about moments in your life that you have savored or that you might savor in the future. It is now your turn to do the practice. And so I would like for you to turn to page 3 in your workbook, or you might not have the workbook, and that's okay too. Grab a scratch piece of paper or your cell phone or type on the computer, whatever is accessible to you. And I want for you to think about a communication moment in your life. Actually, let your mind wander across many of them. Maybe you're sort of delighting in all the different types. Wander through a collection of those moments and then let your mind settle on one that's particularly vibrant. You're like, yes, this one I want to savor. Let all your senses guide you and jot down what you remember. What do you see, hear, and feel? What's the rich details of that moment that you savored? And believe it or not, I'm going to be quiet for a couple minutes while you do that. So turn to your notebooks and start sketching out a moment you savored. Okay, I'll give you a couple more seconds to finish up your description. Well, I've just really been enjoying the chat that I've been looking at on the side. You guys are great. Maybe the next workshop we'll do will be one on luck. Okay, so hopefully you have, oh, I was going to give you the cheat sheet, but I forgot. Hopefully you have identified an experience that you savored and began to write about it. And been able to identify positive moments in that experience. But what I would like for you to do now is deepen that experience. Yes, we can go further. Make your description even more vibrant. Go ahead and use that thesaurus. Use glimmer. It's a great word. So if everybody uses glimmer right now, I think that's going to sound really good. Recall all of your senses if you didn't have a chance to do that. Capture the words and gestures. Relish in that moment in your sensory experience. And then if you can, depending on what tool you're using, maybe underline what you enjoyed the most in that moment or in what you've written. Maybe you did use the word glimmer or your favorite word. Maybe you used the lemony falcon. I don't know. It's delicious. It's a delicious word. Maybe you want to underline that. And then take a moment also to circle what you might be able to capture better. You're like, this was a beautiful moment, but I'm not quite getting it. We'll come back to that. So go ahead and circle something, or maybe it's another moment you wish to savor, and just jot down the words for that and circle that so that we can come back to that a little bit later. And hopefully this allowed you to tap into some more of your senses in order to amplify your positive experience now. But that is not all. We can continue to intensify it. So look at the words that you underlined. Or maybe think about the best part of that moment was actually I think I read in the chat that somebody like doing a bedtime. My younger son, this is weird for a calm person. My youngest son does not like to express I love you or I am sorry. So these are really big words for people to say. It has a lot of meaning to them. It's not that he doesn't feel it. He has a hard time saying it because words are powerful. So we also have created special codes especially for I love you, right? 3 little squeezes of the hand, no matter what, it's a little discreet, we can do that. And other ways of saying that you're sorry without using those specific words, but showing that you care and that you did not want to hurt another. So focus on that sensation now that gave you the most pleasure and try to focus on that to the exclusion of everything else. Maybe delight in that handhold or delight in that expression of love, gratitude, or compassion. And maybe you want to take a moment to jot down how your body feels right now. Like I feel bubbly. I feel uplifted. Just talking and thinking about this. I literally do this all day long, so I feel like this a lot. But today I felt extra savory. Okay, let's go ahead and name it. And here's a chance for you to write in the chat what types of communication savoring you wrote about. And it might have been a moment that had both recognition and acknowledgement as well as aesthetic communication. We often savor more than one part of a communication encounter. And I would love to know what type of communication you chose to consider for today. Yay, beautiful. The day I said yes, saying yes. There's a lot of things we say yes to. So many opportunities out there. Could be relationship, could be going to grad school, it could be job, it could be whatever it is. Saying yes is really powerful. And thinking about these words are important. And I'm creating a transition in my life by saying yes. Good. Lots of extra. I love respecting what is unsaid. That one's so fun. Communication presence, extraordinary communication, using reminiscent communication to savor with others. Beautiful. Thank you guys. All right, let those keep pouring in, and we'll see which of the 7 types of communication people are really savoring in this moment. Okay. So we're going to transition to the next component here. I'm going to go a little bit long again, so hang in with me. But these are on page 4. So if you turn to page 4 of your workbook, What I am doing here is moving you from identifying moments of communication to savor to amplifying those moments and learning how to, again, deepen or intensify those experiences. And this research, how to amplify savoring, really comes out of the work of psychologists Bryant and Veroff. And so I'm grateful for their work and all of the work in psychology that studies the ways that our bodies and our brains savor sensations. And that gives the foundation for me to study messages and communication as one part of the research on savoring. So you can explore these strategies more in depth using your workbook, but I will briefly go over them here. And you'll see that one of the themes in the images that I have selected for today are these sort of pins and strings. And this is because you can think of a communication moment as one of these pins. And as we amplify them or put our attention to them and connect across different beautiful moments in our life, we create a network not only of positive experiences to recall and savor, we enable our brains to be present to do it in the moment, and we connect others to us. One cool thing about communication savoring is that we also invite others to savor with us. So the more I articulate things that I savor, the more people that are near me say, oh, wow, yes, let's enjoy that particular thing. And that is why one of the first strategies for amplifying savoring is sharing with others. And if we were all together in a room or we did a breakout room, this is something that we would do. One of the best strategies for amplifying and remembering, capturing these moments is by using communication to share it with others. And it may be a moment that you've already savored. Maybe you're like, I'm doing it, I'm savoring, and you let people know. My kids do this to me sometimes as a delay tactic, but I appreciate that all the same. It's funny, it's aesthetic. Or something that you hope to savor in the future. Imagine all the different possibilities of our future. And as we communicate about them and imagine them in rich detail, we can anticipate beautiful moments to come. And so by sharing with others, we connect across time and across relationships as well. Memory building is another type of amplification strategy. And when we memory build, we are using an intentional strategy to create a more vibrant memory, a picture in our mind that we can recall at other times. Self-congratulations. This is one that you can do right now. Think about one of the moments that you savored, right? I say, if you felt a little nudge of happiness, acknowledge that. Like, you know what? The great thing about savoring is it feels really good, and I savored feeling. It gets really like a spiral because it just keeps feeling, good. But you can engage in self-talk to say, you know what? I didn't know that I would get this into communication savoring, and I did. I feel pretty good about that about myself. And so you can amplify those positive emotions by simply recognizing them and maybe thanking yourself or congratulating yourself for allowing yourself that moment of positivity and connection. Oh, we're going to run out of time if I don't talk faster or do something here. We're going to keep going. Sensory sharpening. I'm going to cheat and go to the next slide because actually sensory sharpening and memory building are two things you've already done, because I asked you to dig into that memory and get more and more vibrant. So in doing that, hopefully you experienced memory building as one amplification strategy. And sensory sharpening is one where you focus on, you intensify it. You focus on a particular sound or feeling. So when I think back to my cup of Earl Grey and I'm feeling it and I'm smelling it and I'm breathing it in, I am sharpening those senses. You can also compare. And so this is something that I would ask for you to do now is think about the moment that you savored and ask, does it look like one of these pins on the picture? Does it connect to another moment that I savored? If I savored lemony falcon, do I also savor the word liony instead of lion? Yes, I do. These connect. How people say things connect for me in what I savor. Absorption is trying to really relish. I was thinking about something, music maybe, or your favorite speaker, right? Something, reading a letter again and again and just really experiencing that moment and attending to all of your senses to sort of lose yourself in that moment. When we experience communication presence, that's most likely what we're feeling. All right, here's another funny one that I'm going to ask you to do. Don't be shy, maybe stand up. Behavioral expression. I always thought this one was strange, but then I realized I do it all the time. So sometimes when we're experiencing something really good, we might have like, ooh, right? We might have a sigh, or one of my kids used to do this with their hands, like you knew it was good, or like yummy, yummy, right? I'm so excited, right? We can express through our vocal behavior, through our hand gestures. I have a friend who closes all of our Zoom meetings. She lives in Australia, and she sends me a hug like this. This is an amazing behavioral expression of touch. And so there's lots of ways. Pick one. Um, uh, you can have a celebratory hand gesture in the air. I can't see you now because I'm looking at all my notes, but do it. Julian will tell me if you did it. Two more before we move on. One is the idea of temporal awareness. Julian's example here is really good. These moments are fleeting. Not for today's discussion, but I also study a phenomenon that's called savoring the suck. Not everything is great. So I worked with military families with my research team and deployment. Sometimes things just suck. And one of the things that they were able to do to kind of tap into resiliency and maintain a relationship is to say, this does actually suck, but it's not always going to suck. And so by recognizing that the moment will shift, and actually, I'm so grateful that I'm aware in this moment that we can bring some compassion around a difficult moment and maybe even savor that too. That's for another chapter in this saga. And then finally, counting blessings. This is like gratitude expression, right? So at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, anytime really, think about good moments, name them, count them, collect them in. Counting blessings is a really easy entry point to creating your own savoring habit. Okay. So before I move to that one, what you can do on the bottom of page 4 is write about using one of these amplification strategies. How did it make you feel to maybe get silly and do a behavioral expression like, oh, that was so sweet? How did it make you feel to compare the moment that you wrote about to another one that it reminded you of? Or maybe you tried a different amplifying strategy. Take a moment on page 4 and just jot down how your body feels. How are you feeling emotionally? How does this idea make you feel? And remember that I said everybody can savor, and communication is one of those things that we can all savor. Okay, in my last few minutes, I'm going to teach you a really cool thing. Are you ready? I did not give it this label, but Jordy, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's Quidbach, Quoidbach. Describe this as time traveling. So I'm going to teach you how to time travel. Are you ready? We don't even have to have like HD Wells or anything. You can time travel with me right now. Some of you already did. You time traveled right to my Thanksgiving table. I think this is such a good idea. I think we should do this. So this is the last thing I want to tell you about savoring today. And this is based again on the work of Bryant and Veroff, but also Quidbach. And it's the idea that we can transcend time through savoring, similar to what I said about the military families. Right now sucks, but we have a strong relationship. So they savor the past. Everything that we've done in the past has led us to success in this moment. And they savor the future, looking forward to the person returning. So let me talk a little bit, and this is on maybe the second to last page of your workshop, that we can enhance our moments and create that connection web through time traveling. And there are sort of 3 periods of time that we connect. Some of you have already done this. Reminiscent savoring allows us to uplift a present moment. So maybe today is like, wah, wah, wah. By the way, Wednesday was the first day back to school for my kids. It was a mess. I thought, if anybody saw this, I mean, it was awful. My youngest kid did go to school in dirty, rumpled up clothes. This is true. And this is the kid who every other year has gone in a suit and tie. So I don't know what happened, but it happened. And I was like, let it go. Why am I saying that? I am saying that because it was kind of a tough first day of school. It was not Pinterest worthy at all. And I wasn't ready to savor that moment. But what I was ready to do was think about how many successful launches that we had going to school. And you know what? It works out just fine, right? So I was able to reminisce about, remember last year he wore the cute little suit and tie, and then 2 years in a row he wore the same, like whatever. So I was able to pull in all of these moments in order to feel okay about rumpled fit. This was his new fit, and it was very fire, so we had to wear it. Okay. So reminiscent savoring allows us to tap into a moment we already had and savor it now. And guess what? You might not have savored it when it happened. Sometimes we're just having an experience. We're full in and we forget to savor because it takes extra brain power to savor. We're just doing it. So we savor it later. So you can call back memories to savor. Present moment savoring is particularly powerful. It allows you to deepen your present moment awareness by seeking actively. Let your mind scan the environment, the people around you. What is being said? What does dinner table talk sound like now that I have an 11 and 15-year-old versus when they were younger and when they're going to be older? I think about that all the time. The chatter will sound differently. So that allows me to be really present in the moment and think about the sights, the sounds, the touch, the meaning. And we can also share that with a partner and connect them or your whole Thanksgiving table and get everybody on that idea of savoring. Finally, we can increase positive emotions in a present moment by imagining something joyful, meaningful in the future. We do this through visualizing a beautiful moment, something that we anticipate. I love receiving gifts. I think I shouldn't say that, but I like them packaged like the picture. Like I love them when they're beautiful and I don't want to open them. I just like that in the future, there's like a gift. Doesn't even matter if there's anything inside. Just like this idea that there's a treasure, it's for me in the future. Ooh, I love to wrap some anticipatory savoring around that. So we can also transcend our current moment by anticipating something better and putting our attention toward that. And we can connect all of these moments in a web by connecting past moments to future moments. Say, we will be okay. There have been beautiful moments in our lives, and there will be more. And you are worthy of those beautiful moments, and you are worthy of savoring and relishing in those moments. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. I'll get emotional thinking about it. Okay, I'm closing here, Tom. Promise I'm closing. Start a new habit. This is the last goal for today. One, you make a habit by making a goal. Make a goal to savor. Maybe your goal is to go back to something you circled on page 3 and say, I want to dig in right here. I didn't capture this. What more can I take in and how can I do that? Or maybe you're like, what? I don't get this implicit savoring thing at all. I'm going to email Maggie. Do it and ask about how we do that. Identify a type of communication experience that you want to savor and explore. Imagine how you will achieve it. Super secret note, by doing this, you're going to start anticipatorily savoring. So it's already embedding in a positive habit. What strategies are you going to use? You're going to use behavioral expression. It's super fun. What are you going to pay attention to? And then go find that experience. It's in your house. It's outside your door. It's with your students. It's with the grocer. It's everywhere. Find it and create that space for others. And then repeat with intention. This is how we create any habit, through repetition. If you seek communication moments to savor, you will find them. Okay. Yes, that's it. We end with my question to you, which is, what will you savor? And I will stop sharing my screen and send the floor over to my friend and my colleague and co-conspirator and co-founder, Tom Soha. Oh, there we go.
Well, let's first show our appreciation, however you want, by clapping, sending love messages, whatever it is that you want to do to Maggie. Yeah, love is what it's about. I've known Maggie since she was a student, and so I've seen her grow and just absolutely couldn't be happier and couldn't be prouder to be able to be her friend and to know her family and just to have her in my life is fantastic, and ever in my family's life is fantastic. My kids remember her when she was here at Old Dominion. So again, my moment is gratitude, what I'm experiencing right now. We have a few questions in the chat, and before we run out of time, I wanted to at least get to some of them. Maggie, we had one question from, I believe it was from Shelby, who asked about what can we learn about each other about what we savor? Should we be asking about, what do you savor?
Yeah. What a beautiful question, Shelby. I was in a meeting the other day and somebody said to me, and this is beautiful. They said, wouldn't it feel amazing to be savored? Being savored. And so when we give, I think this is also Kenda Graham Bodie's work on listening, authentic and appreciative listening, that if we know how to savor another person, how do we give them that experience of being savored through authentic listening, we can create a really powerful relational moment. And one of the ways we do that is through discovery or self-disclosure and asking, which is in Julian's model of positive communication, that we create a trusting relationship with others so that we can optimize those relationships by asking them questions like, what do you savor?
Cool. We had a question from Ronisha about technology and savoring. Can technology enhance savoring at the moment, or does it distract? Or does it distract people around you from savoring the moment? So, what's your take on that?
Yes, the answer is yes, yes, yes. I started really pushing back on this the kind of media technology and social media and savoring. And I was wrong. Yes, it can distract you from the savoring moment, absolutely. So when we think about trying to be extra present and experiencing awe and wonder, trying to capture it through a camera or being hyper present of our own sort of narration of something can distract you from being able to tap into the savoring moment. On the other hand, by capturing those images, um, saving a text message, right? I'm looking at the chat on the side of my screen. That's technology. These are tiny little chat messages to me that are just like, they're like all the hearts bubbling up, right? So what is important is having an awareness of how technology, and particular social media, can help us to connect positively and authentically with others. Savoring is one way that we make positive, authentic connections, and it can increase that feeling of compassion, connection, care with others, which is what we need to not be lonely. So when we don't have those authentic, meaningful moments of communication, that's when we start to experience isolation and loneliness. One way that we can transcend that is through technology supported communication, but we have to be aware of when it's doing us something that's pleasurable or beneficial, and when it's distracting us from being present in the moment that we're living in. So tough. I love the question, and I don't think the answer is yes, because it's just all the things.
Okay, this one comes from Abby, and she's asking about when you're in moments of struggling,
Yeah.
right? And when you're going through that, right? It might be a lengthy period of time. How do you tap into this idea of savoring as maybe a way to manage those
Yeah.
sorts of, when you talked about when it sucked, right? How do we do that?
Yeah. So the practicing this habit is going to help. We cannot savor when we're under extreme distress, disappointment, stress, cognitive overload. Our minds can't. They don't have the capacity to savor in that moment. And so you're right. When you're in a moment of distress, that is not the moment to also try to savor. However, by creating space in your day or in your week through rituals, maybe it's related to a spiritual activity that you do or certain holidays. It's easy to start savoring. I mean, Thanksgiving now is just on top of mind. Maybe I want the cooler weather. It's 100 and goodness knows what, 109 right now in Arizona, Tucson. That if you put into a routine that need to look for something worth savoring, then it's going to help. And the more you practice when you're not in distress, the more you can tap into that practice when you are distressed. Once that moment of overwhelming emotion is over, you can fill it with something that is more mindful and positively attentive. And so having that ability to recognize where you are emotionally, how is your coping? Can you cope with the negative emotions to reduce those? And then bring in the positive emotions to create that sense of balance. So
Yeah.
it can be very difficult, especially in an intense period. But when you know you're going through a long period of healing, for example, or difficult transitions, those are the times to really think, when is it? You know what I do? This is true too.
Mhm.
I have a super long drive home. It's almost an hour. And I think to myself, when I get in that car, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, after I burn my fingers on the car door, I'm going to be the best mom I can be when I get home. I have a full hour to let go all the stuff from work and tap into best mom, right? And that every time I touch my car door, I think of that. Or when I have this, truly, this teacup is meaningful to me. I brought it all the way to work to show it to you. When I feel this, I feel that connection. And so you might also create a physical ritual around that area.
Okay. We're just about out of time, but I did want to give one. This is a short question about advice to graduate students and savoring, maybe in teaching savoring. Any quick tips there you might want to add in?
Yeah. Yes. As the former senior associate dean of the graduate college at the University of Arizona, I talk about
I hope.
savoring a lot in the classroom and with our graduate
Yes.
students. The relationships that you form during graduate school are those that are going to be with you, some of them for the rest of your life. And so
Right.
the moments of building now and feeling like I don't know anything, moving into I am an expert in these things, try to put your mind toward a sense of before and after. Wow, I feel awkward now because I don't know what I'm doing. I have a lot of imposter syndrome. I actually have imposter syndrome. Or I'm an imposter. I don't know. It's one or the other. But recognizing these are experiences that you have and they are authentic, and giving yourself that permission to say, yeah, this is hard, but you know what? It's not always going to be hard. And here are all of the things that I've done in my past that have prepared me for this moment. Cast a light or a memory around those, pull those into you now to use the retrospective or reminiscent savoring to make this moment have a little glimmer.
Great, so much, Maggie. We appreciate it. We're just a bit over time, but I want to. We're good. It's all positive and it's all good. What we want to do is close it out and remind you that we've got a couple of things coming up to the Positive Communication Network. First, join. First, go to the website. Julian has dropped the information in the chat. Click on it. Just keep in touch with us along the way, so that we can communicate with you about the cool stuff that's going on. And drum roll, Pam Kaufleisch is going to be in the house. Yeah, all right. Yes. She's going to be talking about her new book on her next book chat regarding communication and leadership, right, Pam? Is that where we're heading? Yes. Known Pam a long time, love and respect Pam. We're glad that she's going to be sharing her expertise. So do come on September 5th when Pam rocks the house of the Positive Communication Network. So we're happy to have you all here. We're happy to have you all savoring Friday moment. And finally, thanks to Julian, our founding dude, who helped to bring this all together and get it started. We appreciate him tremendously. I wish you all a fantastic Friday and a joyful weekend, and hope to see you on September 5th and in our upcoming cool stuff that the Positive Network will be engaged in.